Los Ratones and franchising is a hot topic recently, and I was just watching a video about Yankos talking about how franchising gives job security and how if if you don't go to school and get relegated, it's not worth it. Which I mean, I just disagree with because first off, job security and franchising is just what's stopping local talent from becoming pro players. We see the same players just recycled from team to team, or teams just getting like imported like rookies from Korea or China or wherever. Why would a potentially aspiring pro player want to try to become one? There is no way for them to gain access to playing against the top teams or players in a competitive environment like scrims or whatever. And as we know, tier one teams do not scrim tier two teams. So they can't play against the best players, right? And like, okay, but let's say they are already in the tier two scene, right? They're already on a team in the tier two scene. There's no way for them to get the team that they're on into a tier one league. So they don't have access to the best players to play against the best players to get good practice, and it's not like they can gain access to the best practice. So they're just stuck. Basically, they're just stuck. Like there's no bridge for them to cross to get to that next level, right? They're just stuck, and it's just dumb to me. Like we have tens or hundreds of millions of players still playing League of Legends. That's a lot of people. There's got to be a decent amount of players out there who are like in the higher ranks, like Masters, GM, Chow, like in the ranges from like 16 to like 20s, like early 20s. Like even if you're in the early 20s, you want to become a pro player, like you can make it. I'm gonna be real. There's so many you can make it, but like there's so many who might want to become pro players, right? But the only way to become one is to be scouted by like a tier one team, or to have like an insane like Natty Nat or Phantasm solo queue Korea challenger run. Like there's so limited ways to get noticed because there's no way to get access to showing your skills against the best players, against the tier one leagues, right? Against the tier one teams. There's no way for you to do it. But like, okay, so like, why would you want to become a pro player when it's not up to your hard work or dedication towards league, right? You can be one of the best players in tier two. You can maybe win something like EMEA, but then what? Like, winning tier two doesn't give you anything. Like I said, you don't have access to. You're not getting. If you win tier two, you're not getting access. You're still not getting access to the best players or the teams. You're not going to a higher league. You're not getting promoted. So why bother? Why bother trying to be a pro player? Like, okay, and then Yankos brings up the fact that like, other than Lost Tones and like KC ending like KCB or KC before they got bought the spot, like who else? Like he's like, who else won EMEA? Who else won EMEA? Who else won tier two? Why do we think we don't know who won EMEA? Because they're not getting promoted to tier one. Nobody cares about tier two because it has no effect on tier one, and that's where most people are watching. Yeah, there's probably a really small section of dedicated people watching tier two who could probably name you the teams that won tier two, but because they're not getting the option to show up where most people are watching, nobody knows who they are, right? And even Yankos does bring that up. He's like, yeah, maybe that's the reason. But like, it's such an obvious answer to like why nobody knows what is going on in tier two is because it doesn't matter. Tier two doesn't matter. There's no like all tier one is the only thing that matters to people because there's no way for people that want to become pro players to show off their skills or become pro players. And it's like he even brought up the fact that the way he was able to get a job in the EULCS or the LEC as it now is because he qualified for like a tournament or something playing against tier 1 teams, and like they beat like a tier 1 team, and that's how he got his job. So he's benefiting off of the fact that it was promotion, relegation, or like qualifying scene at that time, and like it just shows. Like I have more examples down here, but I'll get to it later. But it just shows that like because you can show off your talent against the top players, if you smurf in like one series, 1 week, all you need is a good performance. You can be a pro player, and that's what happened to him. And now, obviously, he didn't just perform for 1 week. He was a very, very exceptional player. but you just need that one chance, and tier two players aren't getting it because of franchising, because they don't because there's no way for them to get access to it. And like the only reason that franchising is still around, let's be honest here, is because teams paid absurd amounts of money for a spot in tier one leagues, and they want a return on how much they put in. And like we see teams like Dignitas. Now, I'm gonna be real, I like Dignitas because they kind of have like some actual players from NA, like Exu. I really hope he does well. I don't know. I'm kind of a fan of Exu, but like they want to return on investment, they want to return on their investment, but they've been bottom barrel teams, just not trying to win, doing nothing in the league, creating no content, doing just nothing. They're just there because they are millions of dollars in the hole, and they're just waiting for somebody to be like, "Can we buy your spot?" And they'll be like, "Oh, thank God!" And then they're out of there. Then they're out of there. That's what they're doing. They're just doing that. They're spending as little money as possible. Which, I mean, if you want to spend as little money as possible, go right ahead. Esports is not is a money sink. Let's be real here. But the reason it's a money sink is because you're paying so much money to be able to play in the tier one spot in the first place. Like I don't know, that's like, let's be real here. Let's be real here. That's the reason why it's a money sink. Because one, I mean, you're for the LCS at least, you're in LA, which is really expensive. You have to house like the players and shit. You got to pay for all of the shit, and then you got to also pay for your LCS spot, which is at least like, I don't know what it is right now, but like let's just go for LEC. It's like 20 million in the hole, like to get in. So it's crazy already. But like the last point, this is the point I'm trying to bring up. The last point, Yankos commented about how people wouldn't care about promoting teams as much as Los Ratones because Los Ratones has like the personality and people already know them and stuff like that. Let's look at the teams that got promoted in tier one when it was still a thing, and we can look at like players that got promoted with the teams as well. First of all, Cloud9, they got promoted. They had High, they had Meteos, very 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 popular players back then. I mean, Meteos is still around. G2 got promoted. I By the way, I'm going off the top of my head here. So I might be wrong about some of these things, but I'm going off my head here. G2 got promoted. I mean, we all know G2. Like, I don't remember who they got promoted with off the top of my head, but I mean, it's G2. I think Misfits got promoted as well. Misfits had that crazy run at Worlds, and a lot of people, I think they either beat T1 or I think they beat T1 or almost beat T1. They had that crazy run at Worlds, and they were good for a while. Unfortunately, they disbanded. I think they sold their slot. But I mean, like in the LCK too, we have like Damwon. Damwon got promoted. Griffin, that 2019 roster with like Tarzan, Chovy, Viper, Lehens, that they came from challengers. They came from promotion slots. Like we have so many players, we have so many teams like success stories. And while yes, we have teams that got promoted and just did nothing and like weren't that good and they got either relegated or like eventually they sold their slot or whatever. It the franchising is stopping all these teams coming in and all these players that were on these teams from coming in and impacting the league scene. That's what franchising is stopping. That's what Los Raton is showing us. People can come in. They can have the personalities. They can impact the league scene. They can drive views towards the pro scene. And I don't understand people who argue for franchising because it's like, oh well, these teams spent so much money getting in, bro. Like, I'm sorry that you guys spent so much money getting into a tier one scene, but we need to stop it. We need to allow people to promote or relegate or guest slots or something. We need to be able to show talent where talent can show themselves and be able to like grow the scene as a whole because we're just cycling the same players. We're cycling imports. We're cycling the same players. There's a key couple players that people show up to watch, or we have MCoy and you have KC with their like French and Spanish. I think it's Spanish. I don't know. I know Lion's Spanish. I can't remember you. But like you have like these like scenes or teams with people who are watching because it's like regional. Like yeah, you got the French and stuff. But we need like a lot of people just show up for personalities, and because we have franchising, it's so hard to get in. There's such a little amount of space for people to come in. There's just not enough people coming in. There's not enough personalities. There's not enough eyes on the new people or the people in tier two who could grow the scene and make it better because of franchising. But I mean, that's just my take. I mean, Yanko did like I think the points Yanko's brought up where it's like job security and stuff. I think it's valid, right? If you're doing something if you're doing something like this, it's a flip. And if you have the option to have job security, you'd probably want to do it instead of just burger flipping if you're going to be a pro player for a while and make money off of it or not. I think that's valid, but at the same time, it's just killing the scene. But yeah, that's it.